Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another long and reflective episode. Today, I want to talk about something that changed my life completely, something I didn't expect, something I didn't plan, something that happened slowly and quietly, but shaped the person I am today. The moment I met the mentor who changed my way of thinking, my habits, my confidence, and even my future. When I think back to that period of my life, I can still feel the confusion I lived with. I was around 17, almost 18, and like many people at that age, I had no idea who I was or what I wanted my life to look like. I woke up tired, went to school without motivation, came home, wasted time, felt guilty about wasting time, and then repeated the same cycle the next day. It felt like my life was happening to me, not with me, like I was watching a movie instead of living inside it. During that time, my school started a small after-school club. It wasn't popular, not many students joined, and honestly, I joined only because a friend told me it might be interesting. I didn't expect anything from it. I didn't think it would change my life. I just thought it would fill some empty time. But the first day I entered that room, I saw someone who immediately grabbed my attention. He wasn't famous, he wasn't a celebrity, he wasn't rich, he was just an older man, maybe in his late 40s, sitting calmly with a notebook and a cup of tea. But there was something about his energy, something peaceful, something confident, something that felt rare. He introduced himself as Mr. Adrian, but told us we could call him A. Everyone laughed because who tells teenagers to call them by a single letter? But he just smiled, completely calm, like he had all the time in the world. The first thing he asked us was, "Tell me one thing you dream about, even if you think it's impossible." We didn't expect that. We expected rules, tasks, schedules, but instead he wanted to hear our dreams. Not realistic goals, not school-related achievements. Dreams. When it was my turn, I felt embarrassed. I didn't want to sound stupid, but he looked at me with such patience that I decided to be honest. I said, "I want to feel confident one day. I want to be someone who knows what they're doing." He didn't laugh. He didn't judge. He just nodded slowly and said, "That is a beautiful dream, and it is more possible than you think." That one sentence changed something inside me. Not everything, but something small. A seed, maybe. Over the next weeks and months, the club became a place where I learned things I didn't know I needed. He never lectured us. He just asked us questions. Questions that made us think. Questions that made us uncomfortable. Questions that made us understand ourselves. One day he wrote a sentence on the board. "You don't grow when life is easy. You grow when life demands you to." He asked us to write about a moment when life demanded something from us. I wrote about a time I failed an exam and felt like my future was over. When he read it, he didn't criticize the mistake. He said, "You didn't fail the exam. You failed your belief in yourself, and that is something you can repair." That sentence stayed with me for years. Maybe it will stay forever. He taught us practical things too, how to set small goals, how to break big dreams into tiny steps, how to observe our thoughts instead of fighting them, how to speak slowly when we're nervous, how to breathe before making a decision. Simple things, but powerful when someone actually teaches them with care. Every afternoon after class, I stayed a bit longer. Sometimes we talked, sometimes we didn't. Sometimes he just wrote in his notebook while I tried to finish homework. But even the silence felt meaningful. It felt like I was becoming someone new. Not suddenly, not dramatically, but slowly, like a plant growing roots underground. One day he told me something I'll never forget. "You already have everything you need. You only need to believe it." For years, I kept that notebook. Even on days when I felt lost again, even on days when my confidence disappeared, even on days when I fell back into old habits. And every time I read his words, I remembered how far I had come. Not because I became perfect, but because I kept trying. Now, as an adult, I look back at that year and realize something important. The right mentor doesn't change your life by giving you answers. They change your life by helping you hear your own answers. Mr. Adrian did that for me. And maybe, without knowing it, he gave me a future I didn't think I deserved. This is why I believe that sometimes the biggest changes in our lives come quietly, through a conversation, a sentence, a moment, a person we didn't expect. And years later, when we look back, we realize that was the moment everything started to change.